At the pass, Kongtung ends, the downed level sand. Mountain formations at Haoqing can be compared to flowers. Residents, don't be alarmed. I'm not here by mistake. From afar, I've come to study the way of São Paulo Church. It was the 19th year of the reign of Kang Qi of the Qing dynasty, in the year 1680 of the Christian era. Our days were full of hardship since the Manchu had seized power from the rulers of the Ming dynasty. In inner China, even the Jesuit mission went through delicate times. It was very sad to bid farewell to my dear children. The Pierre had never seemed this grey and bleak to me. My heart was heavy and tears came to my eyes. May our Lord forgive me for those moments of weakness. My birth name is Wu Li, but I am also known as Wu Yu Shan. I was born in the year 1632 in Jiangsu, in the Chinese province of Jiangsu. It was the Lord's will that I died at age 86. I was now on the journey that would indelibly change my future. My faith in God had become unwavering like a rock on a mountain. The church at Jiangsu, my spiritual refuge. My will to live the religious life and follow Father Philippe Couplet and his return to Rome were only a natural consequence. I was also leaving behind me my painting and poetry writing. With us were another 4 Chinese, all of them Christian, who wished to join the Society of Jesus. Some thoughts troubled me on this journey that would take us to the city of Macau. At age 48, was I ready for the great journey to the west? Would I be able to learn the religious offices? I prayed that God could help me in this new challenge. The city of Macau is very different from the one I found in the 17th century. The imposing St. Paul's College was then the living heart of the Jesuit mission in China. Whatever has remained of it is but a shadow of the grandeur and majesty of the college that I had known. When my eyes fell upon the church of Madre de Deus, I felt illuminated by her presence. My worries were assuaged, and I knelt down in prayer right there and then.
The facade of the Church of Madre de Deus that survives today, and which is known as the ruins of St. Paul's, belongs, I believe, to a second phase of decoration of the church. In my opinion, this was a phase that began in the 1620s and ended in about 1640 with the placing of the cross on top of the church, 1640 or a little bit later. This second phase is very significant for the construction of the building because it clearly shows the influence of the Baroque style in Italy. Now, the Baroque style in Italy was a much more decorative style than what had previously happened in church architecture, not only in Italy, but also in Portugal, and particularly in Spain, which was a very austere style. And the present facade is a much more joyous, much more decorated structure. I think strongly under the influence of the Baroque style. The type of decoration that it has, the iconography and the arrangement of the figures, has led me to believe that this is what is known by specialists as a retable facade. That means that it resembles an altarpiece. And so the distribution of the side figures of Jesuit saints and the main figure of the Assumption of the Virgin Mary is very much like those to be found in contemporary retables.
Right at the center of the city, this is the Church of San Roque, the oldest Jesuit church dated from the 16th century. Inside is one of the most beautiful sets of Portuguese retables. Following the Catholic Reformation initiated in the 16th century, sacred art adopted the Baroque exuberant and profusely ornated style from Italian Baroque painters. That influence spread throughout Europe, including Spain and Portugal. These retables are characterized by the use of gold and other noble materials, as well as their painstaking beautiful details. Here, artistic creation aims to an effect of awe and surrender. Looking at these retables is enough to imprint them in one's memory. The effect of awe is further enhanced when an emotional rapport has already been established with the elements depicted on these altar pieces. Surrender should occur at 3 levels: aesthetical, emotional, and religious. The retable facade is thus a transposition of the altarpiece retable in the outside of the church. The Church of San Gonçalo do Amarante is probably the Portuguese church whose facade is most akin to our Church of Madre de Deus in Macau. Built in the Mannerist style, the church is part of the Dominican monastery of San Gonçalo, whose construction started in 1540, although it would only be completed in the late 16th century, already in the Philippine period. In Portugal and Spain, the fashion was to build churches remarkable for their retable facades. The church's lateral frontispiece, entirely made of stone, is divided into 3 stories depicting various religious figures. One of them represents San Gonçalo, the Dominican holy man who founded the monastery. The last story is reserved for Our Lady and the Child Jesus. Also, on the facade of São Paulo Church, the decoration highlights various religious figures.
Mas se vamos para os outros níveis, vemos que o segundo tem uma série de homens jesuítas santos, que são homens que levam à perfeição a sua própria vida. Neste caso, Francisco Xavier, Santo Inácio de Loyola, São Francisco de Borja e São Luís Gonzaga, que mostram já uma aspiração do humano à santidade, à perfeição. Mas a fachada vai mais longe, onde põe a excelência da humanidade em Maria, Nossa Senhora, verdadeiramente mulher, e Jesus Cristo, que é verdadeiro homem e verdadeiro Deus. Esta mensagem, com muita consciência da realidade humana, está ali expressa com a mensagem mais profunda que todos nós aspiramos à santidade, à perfeição e à revelação de um Deus que se manifesta pessoalmente a cada um de nós.
It has been 2 weeks since I arrived in Macau, this strangely European-looking city inhabited by Chinese and Westerners. I was given the Christian name of Simão Xavier de Cunha. All that are admitted into this college receive a Christian name if they do not have one from birth already. Such is our case, the Chinese and that of the Japanese and other non-Europeans that are residents here.
神父，
无力。
我刚才看到这经文时，我感受到天主勉励我去罗马一定会好好学习的。我们不是去罗马吗？
Father Coupley informed me that due to superior decision I was no longer to accompany him to Europe. Instead, I am to become a novice here in Macau and return to Inner China as soon as possible. The father told me that the mission is in dire need of help. The priests and their assistants are not enough to take care of all the evangelizing affairs. I couldn't help feeling disappointed. It was almost certain I would have no other chance to go to Rome. Maybe I would never see Father Coupley again. I then started my probatory period in Macau. The college operated as the Society of Jesus Center for Religious Training, as well as a school open to the city's laity. The study rooms and library used to be here, in the buildings next to the stairway, but now there is a garden area and an adjacent street. In 1830, the English portraitist and painter George Chinnery painted a college showing the simple design of the buildings and their Western-style roof tiles. Classes started punctually at 7 in the morning with Latin. This was announced by running the bells, which also signaled the end of class at 9:30.
In nomine Patri et Filii et Spiritus Sanctus. Amen.
Other classes were announced by a single ring of the bell. I was fascinated by the ethnic diversity of the brothers, fathers, and lay students. Among the Chinese and some Japanese and Indians, there were also Portuguese, Italians, and Germans. The facial features of the European were indeed quite different from the Chinese. The college offered 5 different classes: reading and writing, which at times numbered up to 250 students, including children and the classes of grammar, humanities, moral theology, and arts. We, the Chinese, as well as other non-European, learned Western languages. It was 1681, and there were already some liturgical texts translated into Chinese, such as the Missal. However, Latin was essential to continue religious studies, as the majority of texts were in that language. The European fathers and brothers bound for inner China for missionary work had mandatory Chinese language classes. They had to learn our rules of etiquette and traditions, the right way to greet and to seat at a table, amongst other social rules. They also studied different aspects of Chinese culture, such as history of China, trends and references in the sciences, literature, music, and painting. This training program for European missionaries was introduced from early on by Father Alessandro Valignano, the founder of the College of São Paulo. He was the visitor of the missions in the Indies, the highest authority of the Society of Jesus in the region.
范禮安神父即係 Valignano， 佢訂立咗個政策，佢認為全部耶穌會士如果嚟到中國，想成功咁樣入去傳教咧，佢哋首先一定要學識中文，識講識睇。如果唔係，乜嘢都冇得傾噶啦咁。咁就因為佢呢個建議咧，後尾聖保祿學院嘅首任院長孟三德咧，佢係秉承咗佢嘅政策。咁所以咧。喺呢個聖保祿學院係培育咗一批又一批咧，唔淨止精通即係中國嘅經典啊等等嘅耶穌會士，而且佢哋亦都係咩咧？非常之懂得最先進嘅科技嘅嗱。咁我表者例如係邊個？利瑪竇，大家大名鼎鼎聽講咩 Matteo Ricci 啊。另外咧，亦都例如係湯若望 Adam Shaw 同埋南懷仁即係 VBS 呢個。
However, the initial purposes for the St. Paul's College project in Macau were rather different. Originally, Valignano conceived the college to assist the Jesuit missions in Japan, where evangelizing was much more developed than in China. The Jesuits believed Japan was going through merely temporary upheaval due to internal political shifts. St. Paul's College should play a double role: to provide adequate knowledge to the new Japanese brothers and to properly prepare the European Jesuits for their mission in Japan. However, as the 17th century unfolded, The political instability in Japan kept mounting. The constant persecutions and the death of many Japanese Christians and European missionaries